Hello, everybody. Welcome back to our afternoon session of Higher Ground. So we will, if you want to continue your conversations for career coaching and resume review, please continue them, maybe a little bit lower down on the volume. Thank you so much. The COVID pandemic, Zoom interviews, all of a sudden, they're now a thing. And not only are they a thing, they're a thing for the future. So I'm really excited to have Will Baggett present a little bit more about hacking remote interviews, because Will has been a big fan of Higher Ground for a long time. So Will, take it away.
Wow. Thank you for coming. The last time I spoke at a B-Sides was in February 2020, then stuff happened and it's 2022. Thank you for coming, I appreciate it.
So you're competing with the fans, so you need to really talk about it.
All right, can y'all hear me better now? Hoorah. All right. So, man, the hardest part of this is just getting started. Hacking remote interviews, and we're not talking about renaming your profile to zoom.exe to see if you can connect to the interviewer's machine. Funny, but probably not going to get you the job. I was working longest time in the federal government, doing stuff and things and stuff. Lots of travel is a great job. OPM data breach happened. I had to go to the civilian sector and realized I hadn't. Can't hear me? Ooh. How about now? Right. Logistics. This is good. This will go to the point later. So I'd been in the government for a long time, and OPM data breach happened. I had to go look from the outside for work in the civilian sector. One of my friends told me back in 2017, you haven't interviewed for a job since Bill Clinton was in office. Things have changed. COVID hit, things changed even further, right? So I was up in Canada working with NATO, doing training with Canadian Special Forces, cyber stuff for them, and started looking on the outside for work. It was a good job, but it could be better, right? That's why y'all are here looking for better work. And some of the lessons that came up, I came and went, had interviews, had jobs with, paraphrasing, got acquired by a big Fortune 4 company, but you know the axiom, last hired, first fired. During COVID, I got laid off right before the Colonial Pipeline breach. So it's COVID, everything's shut down, and I've got to look for work. Being now a former intelligence officer, I started discerning what's working, what's not working, why are these interviews going well, what's not, and looking and distilling what's really happening. So I'm Will Baggett, former CIA officer, NATO Special Forces trainer, human collection, a lot of cyber collection, Director of Digital Forensics for Operation Safe Escape. Fantastic group. Chris is in the audience. We do fantastic work changing lives. I don't want to sound presidential. It's a great group. It's fantastic. But it is amazing what we accomplish to help people's lives. I'm a cyber threat intelligence manager at a place, if I mention the name, it has to go through legal, so we won't name them. Hardest thing to remember. Someone told me this once, I hated it. And he was right. Every job is temporary. You're going to exit the airplane on your own time frame or when someone else wants you off the plane. And that's a hard thing to acknowledge. Either you want a better job, the situation's gone south, it's toxic, there's a merger acquisition, management changes from a leadership to a management role. Things happen. But the time to prepare to get off the plane isn't in the air. It's, well, no. It's not when it crashes, never mind, sorry. Too much Red Bull, that'll go to another point. You need to prepare yourself now. The example of, I hate remote interviews. I detest them, but they're better than going in person. A brief example from the Book of Zen and the Martial Arts. Someone said, this tennis player is so much better than me, what can I do to get better? Can I try this tactic or that tactic? And I realized that is a wall of text. But the best way to defeat someone or improve the process is to make yourself better, make your line longer. What can I do to make the interview process better for me so I stand out from the crowd? Always going back to the 3 InfoSec principles of data confidentiality, data security, data availability, integrity, and paraphrasing that to the remote interview principles. You have to control your environment, you have to minimize your interruptions, and maximize your advantages. There are a lot of things you have control of that you can do that you can change. First big step is to control your environment. When we talk about helping digital or domestic abuse victims, that's also the first thing, is what can I immediately control in my area. For the remote interviews, I realize there's a lot of different situations, a lot of living situations. This is the generic overview. It's not a one-size-fits-all. I thoroughly acknowledge that. If you can at all, look at your router, your other devices connected, and PT Puff. Anybody know what PT Puff is before we even go down the road? No? Okay. You want to maximize your bandwidth. This is right up front, bottom line up front. You want to disconnect every single device in your house except for your router, your smartphone, and your laptop. That comes from hard experience. And even on those, you want to disable all but the necessary apps on your phone. Wicker is a fantastic secure chat application. It's a battery hog. Anyone out there using Wicker? No? Signal? I know some people are on Signal. Pretty rough. WhatsApp is not so good either. But when you have that phone interview, do you really need to have these other apps on the phone that are going to drain your battery? Yes, we're getting into very basic stuff, because when the plane's crashing, you've received notice, you've been laid off, there's going to be a layoff, you've been put on a PIP, whatever. Life happens. You're not thinking about these minute details. That's why this is on a checklist. If that phone dies in the middle of the interview, is that going to build rapport with the interviewer, or is it going to kill rapport? You want to do everything to keep it positive. Case in point, I was interviewing for a director at a remote security company. Things were going good. We have PlayStation 4 in the house. My son loves Call of Duty's Black Ops. He loves the zombie thing, whatever. Right during the interview, when they're getting into hiring roles, whatever, it pulls one of the massive PlayStation 4 downloads, kills my bandwidth, and I go from clear and smooth to looking like max headroom. They ghosted me. That's okay, salary's low, but I needed a job. So yes, these are all hard-fought lessons learned the hard way. You want to test your bandwidth speed. Is the router performing as advertised? You may need to call your internet service company. You might be paying for a gig, and you might be getting 100 meg. Check that first before you start the interview process. Again, going back to OSE, we had a lot of victims, clients at OSE say, I think my ex is keeping my Signal and my VoIP app from working, because when I leave where he lived, the app works again. And over time, we discerned that they've not been hacked. It's the default security setting on the Xfinity router that's blocking these packets. And once we learned that, the client learns that, they lower their security, they can make the call, they're good to go. But you want to test that before the interview. We'll go to your router, we'll check your bandwidth, we'll see what's truly connected. Here it's an Android phone, it's a laptop, and an iPhone. That's good. What other edge devices are you? If you have kids, you know the plethora of devices they're going to have connected. You want to have those off. Again, the standard disclaimer, we can't talk about every router, every configuration, but this is the core. We start from ground zero to make sure you have a good connection. It doesn't matter how polished you are, how presented you are, how many SAN certs you have. If you don't have a good connection to make a good impression, the rest of it's lost. Again, this is granular, but these are, again, hard-fought lessons. Charge your phone before the interview. Connect your laptop to AC power. Even here, practicing what I preach, I have my laptop connected for the presentation. We're being streamed. Wouldn't look very good to talk about how well to do a remote interview and my laptop dies. You never want to assume, it should be fine. No. Should be and will be fine are two different things. Again, this is in the weeds for before the little light comes on, you want to have these things done. Here's a tech recruiter who placed me with my current company. We were talking after the placement, and he said, when you interview for a remote job, you are demonstrating your ability to work remotely. If you show up late, if you're distracted, if you're playing with your phone, these are the negative things, the granular things. It doesn't matter how great the new C2 tool, Covert to Exfil Data is, if you're sitting there playing Angry Birds or Plants vs. Zombies during your interview. Basic stuff, but I've seen it as I'm interviewing people for roles at my company. Now, PT Puff, put the props up front. This is where a little bit of the subtle manipulation comes in. If the corporation uses whatever software platform, for the slides it's generic, but for the presentation, prior to the acquisition by Cellebrite, I have quite a bit of blacklight digital forensic company merchandise, that the mugs from training, coffee cups, the shirts. So when I'm interviewing for a forensic role, I have that on. It's starting to date me a little bit after the acquisition, but, oh yeah, I got this shirt when I visited Apple in Cupertino, if they ask about it. You don't mention it, let them mention it. But yes, I've got my Waffle House mug full of water. But why not have a Sans mug? Why not have your DEF CON mug? Oh yeah, I was on a panel at DEF CON and they gave me this as a speaker. Let them ask about it and you get to advertise yourself just a little bit more. It is subtle manipulation, and they did kind of train us in that at CIA of manipulation, so you want to manipulate as best as you can. Anything in your background, anything around you to help you, not to hurt you. Another key point, the only acceptable use of your phone during the video interview is as a clock. Mine's in my laptop put up and away, trying to be a good role model. So if it's over here as a clock so you can see a timer, great. Out of reach, phone is off, it's on silent. You don't want to have any notifications. If they think you're distracted and looking at something else, perception is reality. You may think, I'm just checking this. They see you're not paying attention. The first time I spoke training over at NATO over in Belgium, I had all my notes on my phone. I pull it out. The instructor, mentor, he was a 20-year trainer from the Army Military Police School. He flipped out in the back, used some choice words about putting my phone away. I saw it as I'm reading my notes. He saw it as you're screwing around on your phone. The troops saw it as screwing around on your phone. Again, I made a mistake. Lesson learned, passing that on to the community. You don't want to do that. Same thing works for your corporate presentations, internal meetings. You want to have those other notifications off just because you've got your job, congratulations. But if whatever unique dating app has that unique dating sound and you hear that going on during a meeting, that's not cool. Another one, patching your device. Of course, working in, I've done NERC SIP audits. We manage vulnerability patching. I'm expecting to get pushback here. Yes, Pegasus NGO zero-click malware is a threat. The probability of someone attacking me in the hour during that interview, in the hour before that interview, that probability versus having my phone brick and die before this major key hiring role, I'm willing to take the risk of I can wait an hour to patch my phone to make this interview rather than, oh crap, my phone's dead. I can't contact the interviewer, everything's on my phone. They think I've ghosted them when you've had tech issues. You don't want to have automatic updates. I hate Windows. Took MCSE off my resume on purpose. If you have that automatic Windows update and your laptop switches over to update mode during the interview, guess who's not getting hired? That's you. You don't want to do that. You don't want to risk known good functionality for an upgrade. We had an instructor flying to Belgium from Australia. He had an automatic update on his machine after he landed. It's a long flight. He was tired, automatic update, machine was bricked. My Twitter handle's iOS Forensic. I've done Mac Forensics for years. So now I've gone from instructor mode to digital data recovery because he accepted the update. He was offline for the rest of the week. If he had waited, he would have been back in rotation. He could have taught the troops. Your background. I've had interviews where I'm in a suit and tie early on, would never do that again if I don't have to. The interviewer is in his bed, has his cat on his chest, wearing his V-neck t-shirt with a concert, and Mr. Bigglesworth is having a good time, but it's 100% not professional. You don't want to be that. You either want to have something professional in your background. Unless you're interviewing with Universal, you probably don't want the SpongeBob template. You want to present, what is this saying about me? Because one, if you have just your bookshelf, they're not looking at you. They're, show of hands, who's actually, when you see someone's background, are you looking at their books, what's on the shelves? You're looking at their house, aren't you? Yeah. They're doing that to you as well. We had one person at former company, he had a 1990 Georgia Tech national title bottle. That's great. He had Baby Grogu on his desktop. That was cool. And all sorts of books. What did he talk about? I don't know. But I remember the props he had behind him. So maybe he should have gone with this, with his nice big fat executive salary, but it was still something I remember 3 years later. This didn't fit. This wasn't right. You want to choose wisely, because if you're the selection hiring manager, just something simple as that, if you have two equal candidates, you want the professional. For the salaries we get paid in cyber, you need to present yourself the best possible picture at every given opportunity. Preparing your laptop. You want to have an account only on that laptop just for interviewing. Pop-unders, pop-overs, all the pop-up ads, whatever else. All the debris that's on your desktop. So that when they interview, if they do see your desktop for whatever reason, it's clean. The only accounts on there are just for interviewing. You've got all the other minutia loaded. Teams, Zoom, WebEx, BlueJeans, Signal, Slack, whatever. But you have all the accounts. That way, if they say, we need to meet you at this account, you're ready to meet them there in a moment's notice. Even Microsoft Edge. I hate it, but internally, that's what one of our partners uses for meetings, so we have Edge. I hate it, but we use it because that's what it takes. One of my nerd stuff. I've got a Twitter account. I talk about football. We used to have a better football team at Georgia Tech. I talk about that a lot. You get to know the audio video producers. They read the commentary about the games. It's entertainment for them. Miller Pope, he's an audio producer for the Falcons, for Georgia Tech, for other sports. I asked him, he said, and written down, I hate the wall of text, I acknowledge that. The microphone on your device, the microphone on your laptop, on your phone, are the lowest quality devices the marketing people could tolerate. The consumer focus group said this is good enough. They would go lower quality if they could, but their customers wouldn't let them. With your years of experience, do you want to rely on that 15-cent microphone, or do you want to get something just a little bit better if your budget permits? Because even though, yes, my friend who's a hiring Amazon manager said, but Will, it doesn't matter what they have if the hiring manager has a crappy microphone. Oh yeah, that's true. But they just showed Thor Ragnarok, number 4 in Charlotte at the IMAX Dome. They recorded that. Even though it might be shown on your iPhone or the little bitty screen on the TV, they gave it the best possible presentation. Think of yourself the same way. This is a studio production. You want the best possible outcome. So if you got something like, or you have a good microphone, which one's going to get hired, right? Again, this is all about perception and presentation. If they have trouble understanding you now, when you're talking to the internal stakeholders, they'll have trouble. You may not get the job. You want to, again, all the little things matter. Your lighting quality. What time of day is your interview? If it's early in the morning and the sun's coming in and you're squinting to look at the screen because you didn't think about the curtains in front of you. All these little things do matter to help you get that job. This is one of the better cheats. A little awkward here. So this is your house. This is your residence. You control the environment. If you have your sticky notes with your examples back here along this area on the other side of the wall from your camera, they're not going to see that you have cue cards. Why not cheat? Why not hack it? Hack the planet, hack the interview. Have your common interview questions there. If they ask registry questions, well, maybe we should all go to hacker trivia later on tonight, practice that instead of tech skills. And you, again, we want to emphasize this a couple of times. We've seen the meme on 9gag, probably the guy in the tux in the front and he's got lingerie in the back. You want to consider if your mirror behind you shows your notes behind you, they're going to see that. They can see your screen. Or you make sure I've got the video presentation behind me, but just what can they see from my environment that's going to distract them? The red slides are, in the military, you would kick the podium for the main point. Not really going to do that here. Nervous people speak at a fast pace. That loses translation. You want to speak slowly. You don't want to do like Mark Levin, where it's repeat the last sentence said. Repeat the last sentence said, because that's a verbal tick. Once people realize that, they don't notice what you're saying. They notice you're repeating that. So slow and deliberate. Not incredibly Southern slow, that drives everyone nuts, but a slower, where if English is second or third language, they will understand you. The toddler model, again, telling you how to suck eggs, brush and flush before your interview. The time to need to go isn't when you're sitting there trying to make a good interview. We have people laughing, you're like, yeah, I've been there. Thank you. Turkish coffee can wait. You don't want to be overly caffeinated and excitable during the interview. You want to have some coffee, but you don't want to be Matt Foley. I've been downstairs in the basement drinking coffee for 3 hours before you go live with a hiring manager. We have done this. You want an account just for interviews. Email account, phone number. Line 2 is fantastic. Google Voice works. Having your phone number, your true phone number, your cell phone is your DNA. You can go on different sites and see where that cell phone number is associated. Mail.com has, I feel like a salesman here, I'm not. They have around 200 different domains. That's why I have an @engineer.com account instead of @Gmail. Just a little bit more professional. There's @consultant, there's architect, different ones, but that'll help you stand out just a little bit more than the next candidate you're competing against. Next one is kind of a mistake. You don't want to use your SOC account for your Google chat. We'll just leave it at that, but the hiring panel laughed. They all went on mute. They were laughing. I got almost immediate rejection because turns out Becky, with her picture that I used for my OSINT research, wasn't exactly me, and yeah, so we don't want to do that. Another thing from one of our friends said, look at the corporation standard interview questions. At Georgia Tech, we call that WORD. If this professor teaches the same class quarter after quarter, and they use the same test, you get a copy of the test, they didn't change it. No harm, no foul. C for complete, D for done. If large corporation keeps using the same hiring questions, why don't we go see what they are? Get this reviewed, know what these are, have your answers beforehand, post it around your screen so you know how to answer this best. One of our people, she's found around 50 for one job. She's now a senior associate or senior consultant for the company, relocation package, paying for all sorts of training. She's done very well because she went to Glassdoor and got the interview question. There's no harm. Oh yeah, there's a camera. Yeah. When in doubt, look about it. It's better to cheat than to repeat. That's what a college football coach said. So no harm looking at these questions. Now, OSINT is your frenemy. It's fantastic for these, but you can expect the interviewer to turn around and do the same for you. If they see that your party lifestyle, here's me in Vegas at DEF CON, I'm supposed to be working, I'm out partying, I'm at Frankie's Tiki Bar, versus someone who's got a little bit more of a stable lifestyle, which one are they going to go for? So a little bit of OSINT. Of course, they're going to look at your LinkedIn profile. You want to have that complete. One tool, X1 Discovery, you want to heard of this? No? You put in the target subject, whatever you want to call it, you put in their name, and it harvests their whole social media profile so you can do deep dive analysis of their lifestyle. So be cognizant of what you're presenting in all fronts. The one that I like, because it's free, OSINT framework. I know Chris knows this. Anyone else? Very simply, go to osintframework.com, take their short name from their Twitter, drop it in here, get a full pattern of life, all the other accounts, where they're going. So if you're on, Cash App or Venmo, and it's paid for weed, paid for weed, paid for weed, paid for bail, versus nothing because you locked down your profile, guess who's getting hired for the privacy role at big corporation? Again, it's all sorts of little things that will disqualify you. They're looking for a reason to say no, and coming from government, it's hard to find someone that can say yes, but you find find an army of people that are happy to say no. From that, I pivot over to have I been pwned, drop in the email account to see what groups is this person in. Are they using the same email account and they show up at ashleymadison.com? They may have been added there by mistake. There's a barack.obama at whitehouse.gov in the have I been pwned list for Ashley Madison. Obviously, maybe not real, I don't know. If it's Bill Clinton at whitehouse.gov, definitely would be real. But You want to make sure everything you present, this is my email, it hasn't been leaked because it's not used anywhere but for the hiring process. All these little things do matter before you even get that interview. Don't laugh. Water. One, everyone's staying hydrated here, drinking enough. Putting on dad mode. But think of the British Queen, presidents generally. Most leadership, they have glasses of water. They don't have the Walmart bottle of water that's... Which one's going to give the better impression? Again, PT prop, have the prop. You're going to talk more in that interview than you might talk all day working from home, looking for work remotely. Your mouth will get dry. That's why I've got the big glass of water, because I know from experience, my mouth is going to get dry talking. Same thing for the interview. Unlike dating, where the more they talk about themselves, the more they like you because you talk about yourself, they're actually looking to hear you talk about yourself. A friend said this in jest, but plastic water bottles are noisy and unstable, just like the people that drink from them during interviews. Again, getting very granular, very tactical. To be blunt, you're out of a job. You have a laptop, maybe 2, maybe 3 if you're dev, maybe 4, but get a laptop. So you've got this 2-cent bottle of water from Costco. You put it down here. You're hoping that it's not going to spill during your interview. You're hoping the structural integrity of that is not going to knock over and wipe out your laptop. Because there's a feature built in, if you spill water on your laptop, it'll automatically turn off, I think. You don't want, again, little things, but you don't want to have this happen. Yeah, being apolitical. You want to be that guy? Anybody want to watch that again, or is that cringy enough? Point made. When you're setting up your meeting, you want to confirm why you're meeting with the recruiter. You don't want to assume, oh, we'll meet at 9. 9 when? 9 p.m. Bangkok time, 9 a.m. Uga Wagadugu time, or we meet at 9 a.m. Eastern. Confirm it. Get the details right. Show you're a professional. You don't want to assume. Also, okay, we're meeting at 9 a.m. on Zoom, and we're going to discuss the senior cybersecurity manager role for this company. It also doesn't, corporations do, I know they're hiring managers in the back, corporations are often known to bait and switch. We will advertise for this role, but we actually want you for this. You want to confirm what they're interviewing for to see if it's actually a good fit. It saves your time, it saves their time, and it doesn't put you in an awkward position down the road. Have a reconnection plan at the beginning. Hey, if we get disconnected for any reason, I'll hop back on Zoom. If that's not working, I'll call you, I'll text you, but at least be professional and have a reconnection plan up front. Another big one Joe Hudson brought up was language. Profanity is a deal breaker for most hiring managers. Yes, you may have been in the Marines, you may have been in the Navy, and you can take the paint off a wall, but that's not appropriate for the interview. Maybe afterwards when y'all are out at the bar with the hiring manager celebrating getting hired, sure, but not during the interview. You want to avoid colloquialisms, regional phrases, and obscure references. Example, you don't want to be Dennis Miller, and you don't want to be Dennis Leary. You want to just be normal, just as if you're speaking with a foreign national. You want to have things people understand. Next 2 slides will show the difference. Where do you want to focus during your interview? Okay, follow me. Human evolution, when we talk, and thank you for making that a little bit of awkwardness, but here you go. You maintain eye contact. This is how we evolve. We make eye contact, right? But when you're looking at the interviewer, you're doing like my old branch chief Pete. He would just sit there and talk like this. They're seeing your forehead because you're looking at their eyes on the screen, not at the dot. Make sure you look at the camera because, again, I'm not pulling my phone out. You've seen the dating profiles or the selfies on Instagram, and they're looking at their phone. And congratulations, you've told me what model phone you have. I don't know what your face looks like, but you've got a picture of your phone. Good job. Be aware of that. That's unnatural to look at the camera dot. All right, that was the plain, straight model, no weird references, as opposed to the Warner Brothers models. If you're not looking at dot when you yakko, you're wacko. So right there. Anybody watch Warner Brothers? Dated reference, obscure, a little bit funny, but straight down the middle. Oh, Chris is taking pictures. Nice. So if they have this on the wall, building rapport, it's likability. You want them to like you. You have interest in them. You is boring. Them is interesting. Hiring manager had this. And again, for a OSE challenge point, what can you tell me about this movie? Other than it's a movie, the poster, that doesn't count. Speak up. Okay. Okay, well. Oh! So things you could do with this. How does that compare to the new movie? Do you like the newer movies compared to the ones did you see the one in the 80s in the theater? Maybe it's a little bit age, but the other thing, that was a horrific movie. I saw that in the theater. They killed all the main characters in the first 10 minutes to introduce the new toys. But this is something, just find a way. Oh, did you like that movie? Do you have a copy of the VHS or DVD? Something, anything. Show interest in their background because that shows likability. Now, the hard questions, this is more for traditional hiring ground. Learn to negotiate salary. If you say between X and Y, they're going for the lowest possible cost. Check in at the front desk and you say, he's nodding again. You check in at the front desk, oh, sir, your room's between $25 and $500. How much are you going to pay? Well, what salary are you looking for? Anywhere between $150 to $250. Guess who's getting an offer of $150? You are. Oh yeah, I'm looking in the $250 neighborhood. Even if they come back at $200, you're still up higher than your bottom line because you didn't give them your true bottom. But that's something you have to learn how to negotiate. Ask for permission on this one. Awkward questions and silences are where the money is found. I was interviewing with a former dream company, and it was, okay, here's our salary. It's 100% remote. Cool. Will it always be 100% remote? Hard question because I don't want the answer. No, we want you to move to Cupertino. Okay. Will you adjust the salary from TKK, South Carolina to the Bay Area? No, it won't change. Okay. Will you pay for relocation? No, this will be out of pocket after the year. Okay, that's 2 strikes. Will I get time off for the move? No, you'll have to do this on your own time. 3 strikes right there. And they said, but you get 117 days off per year. Sounds good, right? Because you get Saturday off, Sunday off, and the federal holidays. Anybody here want to jump on that offer? No? Not a single person. Hard questions. I really wanted to work for this company. It was insider threat, digital forensics, big name company, but the salary and actually the benefits were so bad, I would have been better off just working at Walmart rather than trying to do this out west for that salary. But if you don't ask, you won't know, and you won't have an obstacle later to deal with. Some of the other common questions, again, my friend, Amazon hiring manager, used to work with him at the other company up north. Tell me about a time you disagreed with your management team. What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? Really common stuff. What didn't you like about your last job? Give me an example of a time you made a mistake at work. Everyone's made a mistake at work. Everyone has. It's whether or not you're going to own it. Coming back from the CIA Charm School, it was elicitation. I like these. If you were in charge of building your own digital forensic lab, what would you do? If you were in charge of your program, what would you change? It's not the answer. They're looking for the thought process and the mindset of, oh, I would get a copy of Celebrite. I would take all the advanced SANS training. I would get some high-speed processors. I would change this process. I would bring in oversight for this and get this second tool. Those are good answers. Maybe not, dude, I want to get like a Bose sound system so I can listen to Skinner when I'm imaging drives. He didn't get an offer. Like, cool answer, but no, that's not what we're looking for here. Another good one, and can't believe how well this works, was, well, tell me about the areas of your job you can't discuss, the things you do that you can't bring up, and that way I'll know not to ask them again in the interview. One, you're probably dealing with a foreign intelligence service, not an actual interview. That's a problem according to the FBI. But be cognizant of what they're asking you. Don't be so anxious to answer with the truth sometimes if you really can't, because if you do have a clearance, you have to be aware of this may not be someone that's truly an interviewer. There are people. You can pretend to be anyone on LinkedIn. Go to this person doesn't exist. Say you work for, caught myself because we're being recorded. You work for a company. All of a sudden you have the authoritative inherent trust that you really work there. You want to please them, get the job, so you're offering up stuff that you wouldn't otherwise. That is a very common tactic of foreign adversaries to get people who work in sensitive jobs to give up data. So going back to that question, tell me about a time you disagreed with your management or had to say no. The STAR framework: situation, task, action, result. The example I give, and probably going to burn it after this, having a recorded talk, is we got a cable in. A country in Africa said, we need your team to do this thing in our country in 3 days. We split the task. Half the team looked at, is it technically feasible to make it there? The other half, is it humanly possible to produce this result? We found that regardless of who you are, regardless of your color of your passport, they have a 30-day process to get the visa, 30 business days, not calendar days. You have to go in person to the embassy in DC, sit in line, get the visa, and then wait to get over there. We found that data, found we could technically do the job, but we can't get there. So situation, task, the action was we had the data compiled, the result. I went back to leadership and said, we can't do this by law. We cannot get into their country fast enough. Here's how we will solve the problem if you're amenable to offering the solution. Solution's offered, it's legal. We're not breaking any international law to get there, because we really don't want to get people killed for doing your job. You have to abide by their rules. It's a good example, shows research accountability in the way you mitigate no into a yes. Anyone familiar with the feel, felt, found model? No? Right out of college, I was working in banking for SunTrust Bank, now Truist, whatever the heck that is. And it was to overcome objections. Yeah, I wouldn't do it now, but I'm out of college, I need a job. Selling loan insurance, complete profit for the bank so that you're paying money so that if anything happens to you, the bank's insurance covers the bank's own loan to you. But we get a nice commission. It was like $30 a loan. So, yeah, Mr. Smith, I understand how you feel about buying loan insurance. I used to feel the same way, but then I found working with so many clients like yourself, and after hearing accidents happen and the insurance covered that bill so that their new whatever, the loan was covered, they didn't have to worry while they're in the hospital. We found that was the best solution for peace of mind. And that's how you manipulate the no into a yes. You know, I used to feel that way about this technology. Then I found after some training that I like the other product better. Take it for what you will, use it as you need, but it's a good pivot to get off a sticky situation. Your questions are a reflection of you, of your mindset. So again, doing digital forensics behavior analysis, it's the good questions are here. What can I do on the first day? What are the skills of a good teammate? What software suite do you use for this task? Who would I engage with daily? Is it internal stakeholders, external clients? What are the biggest hurdles and challenges, blockers for this role? Why are you hiring for this role? And again, Nate from Amazon gave me this. He said the big red flags are, oh, we're expanding into this market. Green flag, that's good. We've had a large number of resignations from this department. Red flag bag, maybe you want to bail on that interview. But that's a fair question to ask. Why are you hiring? When I got cleared to get the job at CIA, I was talking to a person who was a former Army crypto custodian. The quote's up there again, apologize for the wall of text. If you know how to do our sensitive processes, where everything is stored, know our procedures, know where our safe is, know all this before you start, you're not a unicorn of a hire, you're a security concern and we don't want you on the job. You're not getting handling classified materials for dummies at Target. You have to have an onboarding process, and it's fair to ask, how can I get up to speed? the companies that say, we're looking for a self-starter. I don't know where all the tools are. I don't know the drives, the directory, the process. Doing digital forensics, it does get into the legal process. I want to do it right for this company. Going back to the question of what tools do you use for digital forensics? Oh, we only use one toolkit. Anybody know a problem with that? 2 is 1, 1 is none, trust but verify. So if you're only using in case and not verifying the output with Blacklight or Axiom, you may have found this is a false positive and the true negative is over here that would exonerate the case or the client, and this is just an aberration. So as a digital forensic practitioner, I wouldn't want that job. But if I don't ask up front about that for the onboarding process, I'm not going to know this is a major problem right up front. There was somebody we worked with who saw that with a major company. She cut off the process right there for personal liability, because at the end of the day, the individual examiner who signed that affidavit was responsible that this wasn't accurate, but through limitations, you're on the hook for it. Axiom, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And one of our volunteers at OSE, El Martinez, she has a presentation. It's okay to be new. You are new to the company. It's okay to ask questions and onboard. You're not going to drop in and know where everything is. Again, from Nate, the bad questions. He said, Will, please tell them this. If you don't know what role you're interviewing for, you're not getting the job. Oh, what am I? He said, I couldn't stop the call fast enough. If they don't know why I'm talking to them, I don't want them on my team. The other, when can I take my first day off? Again, you're looking at you, not what can I bring to the team. You can think that really, really hard and find out later, but first, get the job, get in the door. The skills assessment, anyone been asked to do free work before getting the job? I have. Anyone else? Do some coding for us, design a program, process improvement. Depends on, I'm torn. I don't want to do the work for free, but I want to validate my skills. So I don't feel good saying yes. Reddit anti-work, Reddit recruiting hell says don't do it. Send them an invoice if you don't get the job. If y'all were asked, Southern, if you're asked to do this for free for this project, would you do it? Show of hands. To validate? Maybe. One maybe. Everyone else is a no, yes. You would do it? Let's see if I can not poke your eye out. Yeah, I didn't practice that. But that's something you're going to have to consider. Am I going to sink 16, 20 hours of coding into a project for a job I may not get that they're going to incorporate in production? My value as an outside consultant is X per hour, and I'm giving this many thousands of dollars of labor for free just to, a lot of unethical corporations will use that free labor to solve problems without hiring outside consultants. Interview's over. If it went well and you feel comfortable, everything went like that. I cannot talk. Everything went well. Send an email, thank you, ask about next steps. If there's anything you need to clarify, hey, I misspoke. FTP port number is this, SFTP is that. I confused the two during the process. I realized that after we hung up. Acknowledge your mistake and mitigate the damage. If it's not a good fit, like the example from the insider risk company back in Cupertino, hey, I appreciate your time, but I'm withdrawing myself in the process. Good luck with your search and future endeavors, or whatever acronym they like to use. Firm, final, and fair. Your name's off the list. They don't get to ghost you because you don't want to work there. It's okay to say no. And from the domestic abuse briefing we give, you don't need permission to avoid a bad situation. No bad situation ever got better by sticking around. If it didn't go well, don't get on Reddit and post all the gory details yet. You want to secure that job. Example being, this is a small community because we're probably only 2 or 3 degrees from each of us knowing each other. And your heads are nodding. Human resources and hiring managers are probably pretty much the same. Like attracts like. Soldiers kill soldiers, tanks kill tanks, subs kill subs, airplanes kill airplanes. InfoSec meets with InfoSec. HR deals with HR. So if they have a horrific candidate, they're going to say, dude, there's this one guy, and it's going to be out there. You don't want to do that. Again, the red letters. After the interview, remember to take your phone off of airplane mode. Remember to re-enable your notifications. Because again, this is to take home if you want, to remind you, oh yeah, because you're stressed, you're looking for work, you're a bad situation at work, you're excited about the, but things happen. You forget the little details. We're all human. Except Mark Zuckerberg, I wonder about him, but I acknowledge this is basic and common sense. I throw it not, but if it's common sense and you forget it, was it really common sense? If you ask others to look at your resume to help you coach with the interview process, are you asking for help? Are you asking for people to pre-validate or validate your preconceived notions? One person asked for help. Several of us gave it. Yeah, but someone else told me no. Well, why did you ask me? Because we're telling you this isn't going to work. Your MCSE from 1999 is really cool. Congratulations. That's not relevant in 2022. I would take it off your resume. Yes, I know you worked hard for it. No one's using IIS and proxy server. Oh, I take that back because I am talking to the voting machine village, and the machine I analyzed was Office 97 database, so never mind. All that said, there are advantages because you don't have to get up, make an excuse to go to take a day off of work. You don't have to go out. You don't have to iron your suit, look for parking. There are a lot of advantages for remote interviews. Like seriously, when's the last time y'all wore a suit? Been a while. The TLDR, remove your unnecessary devices from the network for the interview. You want to silence your alerts. You want to make eye contact with the interviewer at the little dot. Look at dot when you yakko. Remember the star model. My Twitter account is generally clean. It's not political. It's right down the middle. Here's pictures of deer. Here's some antiques I found. Here's some rare stuff. Every so often there's InfoSec. But if it was put before a court of law and read to my parents, I wouldn't be embarrassed by what's on there. So like a good Marvel fan, there's an after. As a insider risk threat analyst working for a company during the pandemic, unnamed, never, ever, 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 ever search for new jobs from your corporate devices. No, Will's not joking. If a packet went from LinkedIn to your device, on the Splunk dashboard, that increased your risk. If you have emails with acceptance, job offer, resignation, now you're on a list of an insider threat. I investigated this. That's why I'm doing CTI now and not forensics. You need a break from forensics. They are going to put you under the eye of Sauron if they start thinking you're going to leave because you're working with proprietary, classified, sensitive, and they know you're leaving. They're watching to see what you take out the door. Snowden, the Vault 7, people are now looking at this. The consent to monitoring is real. Has anybody worked insider threat? Because these 4 tools with Splunk, network traffic in a heavily regulated industry, log-on dates times badge access. I can see when you say BRB going for coffee, and then you badge out of the building and go to your car for an hour, then come back in. If I'm not, because I'm not petty, but a manager could say that's time card fraud because you had an hour for lunch, you took your hour for lunch, and then you went to your car knowing that you're leaving, the eye of Sauron's upon you just from your Splunk badge access that we're looking at. Your email, productivity, I can go harvest all emails between you and LinkedIn or you and external recruiter, get that list of everything you're doing and discussing. Druba would give me remote file access to where I could pull down, oh, he's staging an exfil for after he leaves. I've got all these documentation. Not only is Will looking to leave, he's going to take this data with him. It's now moved from termination to termination and legal proceedings. In McAfee, if you're going to try to be slick and change proprietary words from widget to Mandalorian to try to get past the DLP filter, I can go back in McAfee and see when you Control-C, Control-V, that's still visible and retained in the corporate environment. So I can't tell you enough, you do not want to do this from your corporate device. We're all excited to hear them, but what the hell are next steps? If you said that in a normal conversation, people would look at you funny, but hey, let's move forward with next step. You're all excited to get it. It's weird. To show you, I had to record my talk for DEF CON. Alerts are silenced, have my glass of water, I'm plugged in because I hate hearing myself talk. I don't want to record it again. It's fire and forget, it's recorded forever. I'm never going to hear myself talk. Thank you for sitting through me talking. Very last thing, when you're engaging a red team for a pen test, they meet you on Teams. Guess what? They now know you use Teams for your corporate communication. Guess what they're going to target first? Teams. So when you're hiring an outside pen test firm, use a different program just for a little bit of tradecraft to hide the internal stuff for the external. You talk with them on Slack. Back here, our internal is this. You don't give them the end to already load their malware. Super bonus tip, and yes, it's real. Don't live stream your pen test while you're performing the engagement on site. No, I'm serious. Because the blue team's going to find you're streaming to Twitch. We're going to record it, and we will mock you and bring it up the last slide of the presentation. Super duper duper bonus tip. If you live stream your confidential pen test on Twitch for tip money while getting paid from your employer, and you talk poorly about your client, you won't have to worry about looking for a job on your corporate device. We will take care of that for you. Don't be that guy. So we got 1 minute, 2 minutes. One quick, very quick story. Thank you for sitting through the whole thing. It's the rush, not the rush of, I want to talk, oh crap, I got accepted, then crap, I have to speak tomorrow. Then it flies by. This has been the fastest 50 minutes. The example they gave, one of us, I don't remember, but at CI, was they gave the example of an elephant. You know, what's he talking about? In Thailand, you'll see an elephant tied with just a little garden hose to a stake. And they would say, I've been there, I love the country. They would say, why does the elephant not move? Well, as a baby elephant, they secure it with heavy leg irons, heavy chain to a stake embedded in the ground. So over time, the elephant grows and is acclimated to think, I can't do anything more than this. The elephant grows and he's far stronger than anything he knows, but his mind thinks, I can't move this, I'm not even going to try. If you're in a toxic environment, they constantly browbeat you, run you down, all of your work isn't good enough. You've now got 2, 3, 4 years experience on this topic. You're far better than when you first started. You've naturally got more experience. You're far stronger than you realize, and it's okay to leave that bad job for something else or something better. Don't let the toxic environment and former treatment hold you down and hold you back. I was going to have an elephant picture, but ran out of time. So anyway, the talk is over. It was at Higher Ground. I have a minute? Thank you. Yes. Interviewer? He asked if there are any tips for the interviewer. It depends on the role. You want to do it, see if they're a good fit, see if they want to work remote, see if they want to work on site. Interest, hobbies, get to know them as a person. I mean, regardless of all the tech skills, you're going to work with them daily. You know, you don't want to hire somebody that rocks the boat to cause drama. No one really wants that. You want to see if just basic personality. The tech skills can be learned, but the personality, that's, if they think they're the rock star, they're the solution. We had a guy walk into a new platform and said, yeah, I'm here to solve everything for you. They had a wheels up party. When he left, they were so happy he was gone to another division because he was so arrogant. So it's all about the people. Tech skills can be, they're fungible. I mean, Hugh specialized in dial-up modems 25 years ago, and now look, we got this.
You're welcome. So this is going to be really hard for me to say, but if you go on YouTube, on the BSidesLV channel, and you look at previous years' presentations, there's a gentleman named Mike Murray. And he always did the first talk on the second day. And his talk was always about managing people, managing superstars. How do you interview? How do you cultivate them? I apologize, but Mike is no longer with us. So it's very hard for me to talk about him, but he had some really, really great presentations. So they're all on the BSidesLV channel. How does the remote process change? So all of his same tips really need to be done by the hiring manager as well. So one thing that I talk about with my customers a lot is the recruiters need to train their hiring managers on how to do remote interviews. You know, giving them the background on the candidate, giving them the background on the team, making sure that the hiring manager doing the remote interview knows all the tech, knows the background, knows how to have personality on the interview, because you're establishing a rapport, you're cultivating this candidate, and that's really hard to do in a remote environment when you don't have body language. So basically everything that Will said, you need to do as well as a hiring manager, having your notifications off and, you know, really checking to make sure that you have a backup plan if you get disconnected, and checking with your recruiter. I know we've got 3 great recruiters over here and several other recruiters there who have more than 20 years experience. Well, maybe not Jamal. But they all have these are all recruiters that I have cultivated over 20 years of my experience, and they have all prepped their hiring managers. So I'm sure any one of them are more than happy to sit with you and sort of go through how to prepare for a remote interview if you'd like. So let's give Will a round of applause. It's always hard to be the middle of the afternoon caffeine dip presentation, but I really appreciate Will being here. You're welcome. Now we do have in the back tables. Can you raise your hand if you're a recruiter or a career coach? So we have several people here who are ready to meet with you, talk about your career, talk about your resume. My friend Jen Haverman over here in the corner will help you get signed up or not signed up, but match you up with the right person. Thank you so much. We'll kick off with presentations tomorrow. Thank you.
We have OSE stickers. If anybody wants some, we'll leave them up here on the table. Free stickers.